Hello, Stormies. Do you know what today is? It's the final countdown of the top 300 games of all time, according to Game Informer. Today, our number's 10, down to number 1. What's the number 1 game? Guess you'll find out in a few minutes, after I read numbers 10 all the way down to 2. And after that, it'll be 1. And then next week, I'm gonna start uploading some Dungeons and Dragons. It's gonna be an exciting time. Let's get started. Number 10, The Witcher 3, Wild Hunt. Released for PS4, Xbox One, and PC in 2015. The Witcher 3 created a new high standard for modern open-world RPGs, and has yet to be topped in that area. The game's impressive scope is one thing, with a huge world and side quests galore, but CD Projekt Red also succeeded in terms of letting your actions have meaningful impact. Geralt's journey to protect Ciri, a young woman who's like a daughter to him, showed a new tender side to the anti-hero. The adventure was filled with unforgettable moments and choices that were far from pleasant, which only enhanced The Witcher's bleak world all the more. For all the fantastic content packed into this game, it's hard to believe it was CD Projekt Red's first true open-world outing, but the team exceeded expectations and elevated the RPG genre at the same time. Number 9, The Elder Scrolls V, Skyrim. Released for PS3, 360, and PC in 2011. 7 years later, no open-world role-playing game has the popularity, impact, and continued enthusiasm garnered by the most recent mainline Elder Scrolls game. Skyrim took the tenets that made its predecessor so exciting, and then evolved them into a formula that resonated with players, and kept them engaged for years. Flying and fire-breathing dragons, breathtaking natural environments, a rich and nuanced character progression system, and hundreds of hours of quests and exploration all came together into a riveting fantasy that was hard to leave behind. The allusions to Norse mythology and Northern European culture gave added life to a universe already brimming with fascinating races, magic, and godlike Daedric princes. Thoughtfully crafted dungeons, forests, and cities made this a believable open world that was a delight to explore. Whether matching blades, casting spells, or shouting magical commands, combat made you feel like the dragonborn warrior you were meant to be. But it wasn't just the broad strokes and core mechanics that helped set the game apart. In details like a created ancient language, seemingly endless stacks of in-fiction books and lore, and countless spoken dialogue characters, this was a place and time that felt authentic and filled with the depth of history. At launch, Skyrim redefined our expectations and set a new high bar for open-world fantasy adventures. In the years that followed, excellent official expansions and re-releases joined forces with an army of dedicated modders to keep breathing new life into the game long after its initial release. Number 8, Red Dead Redemption, released for PS3 and 360 in 2010. The Wild West has been the focus of many films, plays, and books, but a successful game in the setting had been strikingly absent until the creators of the famed Grand Theft Auto series changed this in 2010 with the release of Red Dead Redemption. This open-world western instantly became one of the studio's best works. Rockstar took the phenomenal world-building it had spent years honing on with the Grand Theft Auto and applied it to a western setting with great results. Despite the familiar pacing, the structure Red Dead Redemption improved many of GTA's elements and turned them into something fresh, thanks to a gripping tale filled with beats that wouldn't be out of place in a Clint Eastwood script. A well-realized world with gorgeous expanses, and a surprisingly sympathetic yet gruff protagonist. Red Dead Redemption's narrative in particular led to an unforgettable finale that demonstrated Rockstar's devotion to well-written storytelling. The world was further embellished in its online components. You could form a fearless posse with friends and roam freely, attacking outlaws or terrorizing towns. Playing competitively brought its own Western twist to popular modes like Deathmatch and Capture the Flag. Red Dead Redemption also featured fantastic gunplay, with each weapon feeling distinct. Dead-eye targeting further revolutionized this by having you slow down time to send a row of foes to an early grave. Whether you were robbing a train, assaulting a bandit camp, or biding time by playing Liar's Dice in town, Red Dead Redemption never ceased to offer an enthralling Wild West experience. Number 7. Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, released for PS3, 360, and PC in 2007. Leaving behind the series' love affair with World War II for modern-day covert options, Infinity Ward set a new standard for first-person shooters with Modern Warfare. The campaign fires on all cylinders, with amazing levels like the tense, stealth-focused all-gillied up and cinematic shock and awe. To this day, gamers still have trouble deciding on their favorite moment from a campaign packed to the brim with showstoppers like a surprise nuclear explosion, a showdown on a broken bridge, and the sinking of a tanker filled with terrorists. The hefty multiplayer mode also introduced the staple kill streak system, rewarding top players with airstrikes and helicopters they could sick on foes. Though Battlefield 2 originally introduced the RPG-like progression system, Modern Warfare refined it and became the standard that was the vast majority of first-person shooters copied in the years that followed. The introduction of Prestige mode also encouraged players to relive the progression system over and over again for bragging rights. With Call of Duty being an annual series, the brand earns mounting and debatable criticism each year that it's grown stale and lacks the innovation of earlier titles. Still, the fourth Call of Duty is king for a reason. Modern Warfare laid the groundwork for the modern first-person shooter formula, introducing innovations that have made its colossal shadow loom over the genre ever since. Number 6. Final Fantasy VI. Released for the Super Nintendo in 1994. The 16-bit era is full of amazing role-playing gems, so proclaiming Final Fantasy VI the best of them is an exceptionally high honor. Originally called Final Fantasy III in North America, this masterpiece from Squaresoft earned its place at the top with an unforgettable mixture of characters, story, and systems that have withstood the test of time. The biggest problem with Final Fantasy VI could be deciding which moment was your favorite. The somber opening scenes, the groundbreaking opera house sequence, the world's descent into apocalyptic ruin. Even with those pillars holding up the narrative, the small touches kept the game engaging from one moment to the next. Piloting the pillars holding up the narrative, the small touches kept the game engaging from one moment to the next. Piloting the airship, which used Mode 7 technology, was a thrill. Unique commands for every party member, like Sabin's Blitz, that your moves, or Gao's Rage, kept battles from getting stale. Every character got some time in the spotlight, despite the fact that your roster of 14 possible party members created the largest playable cast in the series. They were all working to stop Kefka, a psychotic mage who destroyed the world halfway through the game. That was another revolutionary aspect of Final Fantasy VI. The bad guy won, at least initially. The second half of the game involved visiting familiar locations ravaged by Kefka, tracking down your friends in a hopelessly desolate land. Not only was this sad and surprising, but it also was an early incarnation of an open-world philosophy. By replacing a linear story with a series of smaller objectives, players could chart their own path through the story. Though later Final Fantasy entries continued to innovate in other ways, Final Fantasy VI was the best of an era, perceived by many as the genre's brightest days. Number 5. World of Warcraft, released for PC in 2004. The game that made MMORPGs a household name, Blizzard's epic saga of orcs, humans, and everything in between remains a gaming staple more than a decade later. The experience of diving into the world of Azeroth and exploring every kobold cave, desert ruin, and lush dinosaur-laden crater was enough to suck anyone in. But the real game began when you joined up and started tackling endgame encounters with your carefully crafted character. In World of Warcraft, it was all too easy to forget reality and find yourself lost in an incredible fantasy world where there was always something new to discover. While the core gameplay was enthralling and entertaining, the social aspects of the game took center stage. From five-person dives into the depths of necromantic bastions like Scholomance to 40-player raids into the fires of molten core, the social experience of making friendships, forming guilds, and taking on progressively more challenging encounters with insanely cool loot to show for it was the pinnacle of early WoW. Years went by, and perhaps your mettle was tested in challenging but entertaining encounters with dragons in Blackwing Lair, Blood Elves in Tempest Keep, or the Lich King himself in Icecrown Citadel. The scenery changed over a series of expansions and content drops, but often the community and friends you made along the way stayed the same. WoW continues to be the MMORPG that all others are compared to and measured against even today. Number 4, Grand Theft Auto V, released for PS3 and 360 in 2013. Expectations were sky high when Rockstar Games announced Grand Theft Auto V, but no one imagined the game would deliver the depth and breadth of activities capable of sustaining one of the all-time great sales runs in video game history. Rockstar first wowed us with GTA V's sprawling campaign, which for the first time gave players control of 3 characters they could swap between at any given moment. Divvying up the missions between anti-heroes with distinct personalities allowed Rockstar to explore different mission types and personalities without making its well-rounded characters feel out of place. Burning down buildings and going on rampages felt natural to the psychopathic Trevor, while having more grounded characters like Michael allowed the narrative to lampoon modern family dynamics. Then came GTA Online, a multiplayer playground filled with a diverse amount of activities and a never-ending stream of free content drops that evolved the experience in meaningful ways. Adding new vehicles, cosmetics, and multiplayer modes on a regular basis, and through a console transition, kept engagement high, and lapsed players were always enticed to return with expansions like heists and the introduction of player-driven criminal enterprises. Player engagement is currently at an all-time high. But the biggest star of GTA V was the richly detailed, dynamic open world, which proved to be well-suited for any type of experience the developers could throw at it. Rockstar has sold more than 85 million copies thus far, and the game shows no signs of slowing down. Number 3. Tetris, released for PC in 1984. Move and rotate 7 differently shaped objects as they tumble down the screen. Clear lines, repeat. What Tetris lacks is in depth it makes up for in timeless perfection. For any other game that might be hyperbole, but not in this instance. From the Electronica 60 computer, Alexei Pajitnov programmed the first iteration onto modern-day smartphones and every conceivable platform in between. Tetris has remained engaging, entertaining, and infinitely replayable. For many, Tetris served as their first casual introduction to video games. For others, Tetris is a lifelong obsession spawning demand for blistering offshoots like Tetris, the Grandmaster series. The beauty of Tetris is its simple foundation can accommodate both playstyles, not to mention the countless other spin-offs players have enjoyed over the decades. Tetris single-handedly sold players on the Game Boy, launching a long legacy of handheld game systems that still remain central to Nintendo's business. Tetris holds the world record as the most ported game of all time. It has been played on the sides of skyscrapers and under an electron microscope using glass microspheres. Scientific studies have used Tetris as a method for treating lazy eye, cravings, and PTSD. When a person devotes so much time and focus on an activity that it invades their thoughts and dreams, scientists call it the Tetris effect. Even if you haven't experienced the phenomenon yourself, it's easy to see how pop culture has undergone its own Tetris effect for more than 30 years. We don't expect the love affair to end anytime soon. Number 2. Super Mario Bros. 3. Released for the Nintendo in 1990. Nearly 30 years after its release, Mario's third mainline adventure remains as captivating as ever. Its pixel art has aged beautifully, and its jaunty soundtrack still invites listeners to whistle along. Best of all, it's still a blast to play. The game remained faithful to the original Super Mario Bros., while also pushing the level design and challenge ahead significantly. Super Mario Bros. 3 expanded Mario's power-ups arsenal to include a variety of different suits, which gave the hero special abilities. While there was a certain appeal to being dressed as a frog or an honorary hammer brother, the raccoon tail was the star of the show. It gave Mario the ability to soar beyond the limits of the screen, which is where adventurous players could find some of the best secrets. The game introduced other elements that would be revisited throughout the years, such as an interactive overworld map, minigames, and of course, Boo. Super Mario Bros. 3 likely would have been a tremendous success based on its name recognition alone, but it was helped along by one of gaming history's oddest moments. The Wizard, starring Fred Savage and Jenny Lewis, hit theaters before this game debuted in the US. The video game-infused road movie culminated in a climactic Super Mario Bros. 3 competition, which helped create a sales frenzy where retailers couldn't keep the game in stock after it launched. That movie may not have stood the test of time, but the legacy of Mario's best entry continues to this day. And here we are, last but not least, number 1 of the top 300 games of all time countdown, according to Game Informer, is The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. Released for the Super Nintendo in 1992. Almost every Zelda game is considered a breakthrough, and perhaps even one of the greatest games of all time. Next to Mario, no series of games has maintained such a high bar of excellence. Determining the order of the Zelda games on this list was a difficult task, as most entries had at least one supporter that gave a passionate plea as to why it should be on the list or higher than another game in the series. Oddly, the same cannot be said for A Link to the Past. Most Game Informer staffers put it at the top, not just for the series, but all games. It ended up being a runaway choice for both its historical importance and the fun it still delivers today. Although many of the series conventions debuted on the Nintendo, and The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past defined the blueprint Nintendo has used for most sequels, and is still one of the most ambitious entries to date. Even without three-dimensional graphics technology, Nintendo designed the dungeons as multi-tiered constructs, creating puzzles that pushed players to drop down from higher areas and think about what switch might activate on different levels. The brilliance in puzzle design extended to parallel realities through light and dark worlds, giving players twice as much to explore. A Link to the Past still looks great today, and the clever gameplay concepts haven't lost any of their luster. Although we have a good idea of how each Zelda adventure will unfold, Nintendo has continually found ways to make these adventures magical. A Link to the Past is the prime example of how Nintendo gives fans more of what they want in ways they never imagined. Well, that's it. I've finished a countdown series. Let me know in the comments if there are any games on this list that you would like to see me play. I've already played Red Dead Redemption. Link to that Let's Play in the description. I've started Skyrim. Then my game stopped saving, so I kind of quit and haven't picked it up ever since. I've got a little bit of GTA 5 gameplay. I think the one I show in this video is just heists that I think Brian has done. Music in the background is that of mine and my husband's creation. Yeah. Next Sundays are going to be Dungeons and Dragons. Once I've already started playing, I need to actually start editing it. And then once I beat Stardew Valley, I'm gonna be doing Reaction Wednesdays, and if I can ever find time with my best friend, we're gonna start that ghost hunting series. But I hope you've enjoyed, and if all of that upcoming stuff sounds exciting, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you can be notified when I upload things. Because I upload every day and I live stream every week. I plan to continue uploading every day, even with the changes I plan to have. These are my hopes. But if that changes, I'll definitely let you all know. Join my Discord server. Invite link to that is in the description. I also have merch, and I'm a member. I'm an Extra Life member, so that is also a thing in the description. If you want to donate to help kids who are sick. I'm rambling a lot. So I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna go edit this video so I can upload it because it's already late and I apologize for that. It's just been really busy. I hope I'll see you in my next videos. And I hope you have enjoyed this series. I will see you next time. Bye!